Hello everybody, it's me again with another update. I'm going to tell you everything that I've developed in the order that I've developed them. So don't worry about anything that you see that I haven't talked about yet. I'll talk about it later. So let's get started with a shotgun. Okay. Let's say it's level 50. Repeat count is just fine. Let's repeat count is 1 for now. Let's go base damage. No, actually go prime base damage. Let's go some blaze, a little multi-shot, and maybe a little up electricity 165. Now we're gonna get the test. Okay, that's one test. Now let's remove the base damage. Now let's go back and put the base damage back in and change this to this. All right, so now I can check the results. These would be 1, 2, 3 if this was my first take, but this is not my first take. As you can see, consistency number is non-existent as well because the repeat count is only 1. All right, so this was our first test, which was with these mods at these ranks, which gave us a sum of 95. Then the next one, which I removed base damage, gave us 119. And the next one gave us 102, which I put that back in, but with prime chilling grasp instead of prime charge shell. So you can tell most likely because of prime charge shell's status effect, you get much better test results because this weapon can actually do a few status effects. Oh, actually, never mind. It's not that. The reason is blaze plus prime chilling grasp. That makes blast, which is a terrible effect, but this one makes radiation, which is a much better one. Okay, that's the actual reason, or at least one of the reasons. All right. Okay, let's see what's next. Timer and gun state. You already saw that. I'm going to explain it now. Okay, let's say I'm going to put that to 1. This timer here. This timer here, which will tell you how many seconds have passed. That's basically it. And if you pause, it will also pause properly with the damage display. If I pause, it pauses as it should. All right, what else? Build, saving, and loading. Okay. Let's go to Corinth Prime. Whoops, not Corinth Prime. Okay. And let's go here, remove these existing mods. As you see, this is the loading button. There's nothing here because I haven't saved anything. So let's go prime base damage. Let's go galvanized multi-shot, corrupted crit chance, prime critical damage, prime magazine, and corrupted fire rate. Then electricity and toxin. Now let's say I want to save this. You'll see a brand new screen, or rather a pop-up, I guess, and it'll ask you the build name. Let's just call it Rec 22 because this is the build that I recommended in the 22 version. And then I can remove everything and then go here, boom, just like that. If I remove it, try it again, it works. And it also saves the levels, by the way. See? So now if I want to test it quickly, I can. And if I want to remove this, I can just right click on it and boom, it's gone. And if I save it again, there it is. All right, next up, one-click mod equip. You might have noticed that I've already used this, but in Warframe, basically, you have to grab this, drop it, and that's how you equip. You can't just click on it and have it be equipped, but now you can. You can just click on stuff, which is quite a bit faster, actually, when you're doing hundreds of these, or at least planning to do hundreds of these, because that's what I'm planning to do. Just like that. And then you can just remove them just like that. You can add them by dragging. Okay, you can't have both of those. And then you can also swap them out like this. You can swap them out like this, and so on. Let's say if you have a bunch of elementals and you notice that this is not the mix you want, you just boop, and they're swapped just like that. And then you can remove them. All right. Next up, mod swapping. For mods that are already equipped to, you can just swap these, which is super handy because, for example, let's say you have a setup like this, heat, electricity, and cold, but you want the heat and cold to mix up, and you just boom, just like that. All right, what else? Okay, beam weapon ramp up. Okay. Beam weapon ramp up was something that I talked about in the last update, and I said it's going to be developed. Now let's have a look at our Ignis Wraith, and let's put base damage and corrupted base damage on it, and a little of heat just to make it more visible. Heat 90 and heat 60. Let's go corrupted heavy gunner just for showcase purposes. Okay, that level might be too high. Actually, let's use tech instead. Corpus tech. Yeah, that's going to give us an unarmored value, so that's much better. And repeat count of 1 is just fine. Time scale, damage display, yes. All right. What? Did I forget to set this up as a beam weapon? The thing about beam weapons is that there is no way to actually distinguish them, so I have to manually tell the code that this is a beam weapon. So let me actually see if I have told it that it's a beam weapon or not. Where is my Unity projects and damage calculator, assets, and database, weapon stats, primary extras, Ignis Wraith. Yep, I have not told it that it's a beam weapon. So I told one weapon that it's a beam weapon. Where was it? Which weapon was it? Okay, here's a beam. Okay. Oh, Ignis, normal Ignis. Okay, I have told normal Ignis that it's a beam weapon. Okay, let's go back and try that. Okay, normal Ignis. Okay, this is a beam weapon that I've selected. So if we're gonna press next now, it should have a ramp up. Okay, there it is. There it is. And let's see. Let's actually have 2 enemies so we can see it across multiple enemies. So it starts at 216, 299. It goes up to 532 in the span of how much? 0.6. Exactly 0.6, as it should be. And one thing that you might have not known about beam weapons is that they have to ramp up again for every new enemy. Yes, for every new enemy. Not for only when you start firing, but every time you hit something, it has to go through that 0.6 ramp up. But I've noticed that it's quite insignificant. It's not a big deal, actually. So what's next? 100 munitions. Okay. Oh, the best way to actually showcase this would be a weapon that doesn't have normal slash in it. Can I think of one? Yes, I can. It would be Synapse. And again, even though this is a beam weapon, I have not told the code it's a beam weapon, so it's not going to get the beam ramp up, so don't worry about that. Okay, there it is. Slash dot at time 2.25, so that means we should have a hunter munition thing at times 1.2? Unless that's not the first one. Okay, that's not the first one, so at times 0.25 then. Yeah, I guess it was here. Maybe I should develop a identifier for it. Maybe just say hunter munition slash or I don't know, crit slash, something like that right here. But it currently doesn't do that. So at times 0.24, it got this crit. And then we got the first slash dot at time 1.25. You get the idea that this weapon doesn't have slash, but it's getting slash dots, so it is working. But if you were to add internal bleeding, this weapon doesn't have impact at all. It would never give us any slash, as you can see here. No slashes. Alright, but what weapon has a significant impact that we can use? Well, one weapon that has significant impact would be Gorgon. Yeah. Let's just go Prisma Gorgon. And we're just going to use internal bleedings and maybe a bit more status chance because that helps. But not galvanized aptitude. But status 90. Yes, that's much better. Okay. Let's see. Are we getting any slashes? Okay, there it is. At 1.15. Which means the 0.14 is the start. And you can see there is no actual normal slash here that you could say that it's based off the weapon slash, but it's not because we don't have a slash proc here. We have an impact proc, which also triggered a slash proc for us. Maybe I should also develop a little indicator here. Actually, let me add that to my list right now. All right. There we go. Now I should remember it. All right, what's next? Hunter munitions and internal blazing. Mod ranks and result page. Okay. That's something you already saw, but these ranks, let me put that. These ranks here used to not be here, and the results page would not save the ranks, but then I updated it to have the ranks. You already saw that. Multi-stage weapons and delayed stages. Okay. Let's go for Juge. Okay, I'm not actually sure if I... Okay, let's find the weapon that I did properly stage. Schedule, okay, that's one. Eventually, I'll go through all of these and have their delays and stages properly set up. The way I've done it here is that when a number is a multiple of 10, like 10, 20, and so on, it will be considered the first stage. For example, we have a 10 here, and then we have an 11. That 11 is a continuation of the 10. And then we have the 20 and the 21. Those two are separate fire modes, and thus are calculated separately in their own gun instance, basically. So if I go Trumna, okay, if I disable this one, it will also disable the other one, because you can't have a follow-up without the first one. Same goes here. So let's have a look at these two stats. So let's have the console active and level at 100. You don't need that. How about this? Yeah, that's much better. Okay, let's go and pause. Look at this. 1, 1, then 1, 2, which is this exact follow-up of it. And there's a bit more to that than what meets the eye. Okay, let's see. Do we get any? Okay, here it is. You see this viral proc critical tier and then 1, 1, and there's no 1, 2. That's another thing that I developed separately, because if you let it, the 1, 2 will bleed to the next enemy, but I developed a system to prevent that. Did it happen here? Yep, it happened here as well. So what else? Delayed stages. I also have delayed stages. They work properly. It takes a bunch of time, and then they hit the target. What else? Targeting delay. Oh, yes, this is the big one. Despite being quite a simple thing to develop and quite simple to understand, it's a game changer for test. Do you remember automatic versus semi-automatic weapons having a massive gap in performance? For example, Baza Prime with a... I don't exactly remember what the build was, but let me give you just an example build. Let's go base damage, galvanized multi-shot, galvanized status, corrupted crit chance, crit damage. Let's go toxin, cold, what's the last one? I don't know, corrupted fire rate. Okay, now let's repeat that, let's say 50 times on level 100 and a time scale of 500, disable that, and a test all. This is going to take a while, so I'm going to skip it. All right. 26.19. So Baza Prime got a 26.19 with this build. Now, actually, I might actually have it. Do I have that Corinth Prime? No, I don't have it. Okay, let's go back. Let's go Corinth Prime, disable those two. Same criteria. Oh yeah, I have this Rec 22. Let's go next. And I'm going to skip this as well, because this also takes a while. You might also notice that the timer doesn't work properly anymore. That's because the strain from the calculation, if you set the timescale too high, will be so much that the timer will not work. Okay, so 43.3. Baza 26, Corinth 43. This is despite the fact that these two, if you actually test them yourself, will have quite similar-ish results. You know the reason? This is the reason. You're not an aimbot. So if I remove that, the default of 0.5 will show up. So Corinth Prime, let's do that again with the targeting delay. All right, have a look at it. But you can see that it did nothing, basically. But let's have a look at the Baza Prime one now. I should have saved that Baza Prime build. Okay. Baza Prime. Let's hope I can recreate the exact one. Base and corrupted fire. I think that was the one. Actually, let's save it as well. Just say some build. No, some Baza build. You might notice that Rec 20, for example, is not here, because builds are weapon specific. You don't have the same builds everywhere. Okay, let's press next, and I'm gonna skip again. Okay, wait, why? What just happened? It didn't change at all. Excuse me, what? Is the default targeting delay not 0.5? Let me try that again. Maybe I forgot to set it to 0.5. Okay, that's more like it. There's probably something wrong with that input field because it should have set it back to 0.5, but it didn't. Now have a look at that. If you only take 0.5 second to go target to target, this is the difference it will make from 26 to 58. Now look at that 43. It looks a lot better, doesn't it? But the lower your reaction time is, the lower this number will get as well. So if you're one to claim you can aim at all the targets in less than 0.5 seconds, you'll have better chance with automatic weapons, because if you're basically an aimbot, automatic weapons are your thing. But if you're not an aimbot, even if you're human, then semi-automatic weapons are much more reasonable. I might actually further investigate what number I should set that to, because 0.5 doesn't seem to agree very well with Baza. So how about Tenora? Fully spooled Tenora Prime. Let's go with the exact same build as well. How will that look? Oh, whoops, there's a bug. Unmodded base damage is not the same as... Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm not sure how much of a difference that actually makes. Oh, wait, it does have an effect, actually, yes. It does have an effect. That's another thing that I have to look into. Though it most likely is something with the saved results of Tenora Prime. 53.32. It's less than that of Baza, but it still is a considerable amount. Now look at that Corinth Prime value again. Okay, now I'm considering that maybe Corinth Prime value didn't account for that 0.5 seconds. Okay, let me do that again. All right, it is different. Okay, that was bugged. Okay, but still, 49 to 53, it's better than Tenora. And if your aim is about the same as mine, this is what your experience will be. So with a targeting delay of 0.5 seconds, Tenora Prime is worse than Corinth Prime. Let that sink in. Yeah, it's a massive deal, because this means that semi-automatic weapons are significantly more powerful than they would seem to be in the hands of an aimbot. Okay, what's next? Shotgun mods. We already saw that. These are shotgun mods. See, point blank, prime ammo stock, so all shotgun mods. I developed shotgun mods and all of their stuff, like laser sight, galvanized, savvy, which is basically the conditional overload of shotguns. We also have galvanized multi-shot, headshot crit, which is laser sight. What else? We also have this heat damage, which is blaze, shelling reload, amalgam shotgun barrage, and so on. What else? Results saved deleting. Okay, you already saw that. I saved results. Okay, let me show you to you again. So let's say you're testing a bunch of weapons and then you realize, okay, I don't need these old results anymore. For example, these Prisma Gorgon and the Baza Prime, which is 11, just delete whatever you don't need and keep what you want, or you can delete just all of them, just like that, and all of them are gone. Okay, next up we have improving performance in the test. You might think, because you saw these tests, right? And this is on 100 times scales. You might see the test and be like, okay, that takes a while, so which means this is not very optimized. But surprisingly, I went ahead and did a bunch of optimization, because in the old version, I was deleting these cubes and then spawning new ones, which turns out was making the test 50% slower. So these cubes right now are not being deleted. They're just getting hidden and then they'll show up again. Yeah. So instead of deleting them, I just set up a system that just resets all their values and then makes them hidden. And then whenever they're needed again, they'll be visible and they'll have their values back to what they would have had if they were respawned. So next up, change how test groups work. Okay. This is the big one. Okay, let me put damage display on. It might actually be a little bit difficult to show this to you, because I went ahead and disabled all the debug prints in the console because they were kind of unnecessary. If you watched the very last update up to the very end, at the very end I said something about virtual delays, which is to say, when you have a buff, for example, right here after this kill, we get a buff for galvanized. Oh, I still have them. Okay, here they are. Okay, I still have this debug. I thought I removed these, but apparently I didn't. So have a look at this. This is recalculated multi-shot buff with buff on kill. Okay, this is the on kill buff at time a big number. So it ends at 26. And then the next time we get another update for it, stacks goes to 2. And then we have virtual delay activated. Okay, the kill times are too short. That virtual delay doesn't do much. But buff reset well. What this virtual delay does is that it adds a virtual 10 seconds between tests, okay? So if test 1 is done and we're going for test 2 of the same type, it will pretend there is 10-second delay without actually giving you a delay. It just goes through the buffs and checks what would happen if 10 seconds was going to be passed. So this way, very short buffs, cough cough, galvanized crit chance, will not get the benefit of having an instantaneous test. So what that means is you will get test results that are closer to reality instead of just being paper results, which is to say results that don't represent what in-game effect they actually have. So 10 seconds for virtual delay, and then we also have the big buff reset before a test type change, which we don't have in a custom test. I'll need to set up the test all for that. We'll need to wait for this type to go to the heavy type. So this is the test, normal test. We need the heavy test, and that's where the buff reset will happen. Or maybe we already did a buff reset because factions changed. Okay, that's another virtual delay. Okay, where is the buff reset then? Oh, yeah, there it is. Buff reset activated. See, higher up we had stacks that went all the way to 5 and then maxed out and stayed that way. Doesn't galvanized hell go to 5 stacks? Oh, it actually might be 4 stacks, yeah. Yeah, it's 4 stacks. And then further down, when we reach this one, suddenly 0 stacks. All buffs have been reset because it's a different test, so we have to do it without carrying over any benefits from a different test type. Not just a different test, because between tests, we just have that virtual delay. But when it goes to a new test type, full reset. What else do I have? And yeah, that's about it. And I also have been squashing a lot of bugs, but the more I squash them, the more I find them. Because as you saw, if I set this 0, just delete it, it doesn't go back to 0.5 for some reason. I'll have to investigate that and many other bugs. And general performance can also be further improved, probably. Because I just noticed that when I press next and then press back, it's a little bit slower than I would like it to be. Sometimes it just freezes. I'm not quite sure why. I might have to run a profiler on that and see where the problem is. If you're watching this video early on, which is say the first day and maybe the second day, there will be a stream afterwards, so you can join that and ask me any questions regarding the program. So we're going to have a discussion about the program, where it's heading, how it will be available, and so on and so forth. So you can join me there and ask me any questions that you might have. All right, and with that, I'll see you guys next time, and bye-bye.